Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, we're right outside what's called the Orange Gate. There are plenty of public places where people can come to the National Mall and see the inauguration or hear the inauguration, but most of the spots that are closer are ticketed. And so one of the ticketed areas is orange. And so we see people walking past, and it's not too far from the Capitol. You're probably not going to see with your own eyeballs what's happening on the stage as Donald Trump is inaugurated and takes the oath of office and those sorts of things. But there are video monitors around. We can hear audio being pumped in as it stands right now. There are other areas that are closer, but precious few of those spots are going to be seated. Most of the people here, hundreds of thousands of people, are going to be standing for quite some time today. So for right now, we're this close, and we're going to get moving in a little while, closer to where some of the people are standing down toward the Washington Monument and that sort of thing. What I've been hearing from folks as they come in today is a lot of excitement. This morning, about 8 o'clock, we were outside Union Station for the Metro, and there was a protest, a demonstration going on. Peaceful, sometimes loud. Many different viewpoints, many different causes that people were trying to express themselves about. We caught up with a group from UNF, as a matter of fact, saying that they wanted to be heard and explained a little bit about their group. It's a student-run organization. There were about 8 or 10 of them who had come up from Jacksonville. But for the most part, we're hearing from people who say they are excited about coming, that they planned the trip right after the election because they were such ardent supporters of Donald Trump. Also heard from folks who said, no, we planned this back in July. It didn't matter who was going to be elected. We wanted to be here for the history. That there's some patriotism in just being present now. And that's what we're seeing for folks like this, who are saying they're very excited to be here today. He's saying, let's go. I think they mean getting through the security line, because that takes a little while, as we saw earlier. For right now, live in Washington, Kent Justice, Channel 4, the local station.
You make some good points, Kent. You know, there are a lot of people who say this is really not a political event, but a civic event that showcases a peaceful transition of power. Let me ask you about the impact of a Trump presidency on Florida. I had a private lunch with Governor Scott shortly after the election, and he said he was very frustrated because he didn't have the White House's ear. I know that you met with the governor yesterday in D.C., and basically he says he expects to have better communication with Mr. Trump.
Yeah, when I talked to Governor Scott, he said he was excited about this because we're going to have a partner in Washington. Florida is going to have a partner. That was his perspective. He says he's known Donald Trump for a long time. They have a similar history in terms of they made their careers and then made a transition, a pivot to politics to lead, and they didn't run for a small office. They ran for a really big office. I also heard from Governor Scott that he does think, because of relationships not just with President-elect Trump, but with the incoming vice president, who was, like Governor Scott, a governor in one of the 50 states here, that he's going to have a chance to know what the federal government is doing, to understand how Florida can partner with them, do things with them, and like you said, Bruce, that Florida would have the ear of Washington, D.C. as well.
And Kent, that's particularly important, wouldn't you agree, in that Andrew Crenshaw retired, Kareem Brown no longer in Congress either. You're talking about veteran politicians who are not there then to, quite frankly, argue in favor of things important to us here in Northeast Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. The freshman congressman, Al Lawson from our area, and John Rutherford, there's a pretty big run up here to get your feet on the ground and get going. We know Congressman Rutherford even having some medical issues here in the last week or so, and I do understand he's recovering, but even as recently as Wednesday, we understood he was still being treated at a local hospital for that allergic reaction. Even when you're fully healthy and you're engaged here, it is still about relationships. Congressman Crenshaw told me that was the biggest key and his biggest advice to his successor, John Rutherford. Relationships, 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 because then you get into a spot where you can pull together the people who are going to make those changes that you want to see happen, representing, yes, your district, but your state and really the people that elected you and want to see things happen for your area. So Al Lawson, we understand, was going to be at the inauguration today. Congressman Rutherford, I think, was pretty iffy considering his health issues. I saw Congressman Ted Yoho from our area, Congressman Ron DeSantis, all planning to be here. Senator Marco Rubio, and I understand Senator Bill Nelson is in the area. We're hoping to speak with him a little bit later today as well. Jen?
Kent, looking forward to your reports throughout the next several hours. Thank you. Do appreciate it. Stay warm. We know it's cold and rainy up there.